Jesse here, Demigod Sensei. We got Marco and Ray from Witch's Hammer. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Fucking rights. All right, so let's just get right into it. So, how'd you guys meet, and how'd this whole unholy thing start?
Unholy, eh? Well, what did I do? I put an ad in the Georgia Straight.
Yeah.
And then
I answered it.
you answered it. Came over to your house. You're like, oh, cool. You like that shit too, right? I'm like, yeah. And then we started jamming with your brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, what'd you put in the ad? Like, any specific
Well,
bands?
I wanted to do something different because there wasn't too much fast stuff going around at the time. So I think I said what, like Motorhead, Exciter, or
somebody's
something.
in Motorhead, Exciter, Slayer,
Yeah.
Venom.
And nobody would answer it, but
No,
these guys
me.
did. They were the only guys in town.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody else knew who they were.
Yeah. And I was like trying out for bands all the time, right? And I didn't want to. All I wanted to be is like Maiden or
Priest.
yeah. And I wasn't. Not that I wasn't into that, but my vocals weren't akin to that, right?
Yeah.
So
Different
I had the right
styles.
look, as they would say, but you don't sound good. Well, I want to be Cronus, right? So
Exactly.
yeah.
Pretty sweet.
Faster and better.
Yeah.
So, like it was you that had the idea first, or and you started looking for members, or?
Well, yeah, because I hadn't met them yet. But like, what was going on was there was just a small scene was starting to take place. So all the kids that were into like hardcore punk music and the few headbangers that were coming away from the Judas Priest, Maiden kind of stuff and going into like Motorhead and Venom and Exciter and all that kind of stuff and the new stuff, the faster thing. We started going that way to create our own scene.
Yeah.
Like that's what we wanted to do because, we didn't want to just follow what was going on. And plus, nobody else was doing that around the city. So
What was like the landscape like?
There wasn't
around
one.
that time. It was just
Nothing.
like
there wasn't one.
There's a
like-
couple bands like Sacred Blade.
Yeah.
And they weren't like speed metal or anything,
traditional
but-
bands.
Yeah. And they were starting to they were different. And there was like what was that band? Cradle, Black Knight, and then there was just bar bands that played cover tunes, and that's
Yeah,
it.
That's it. There was
a
no
bunch of like heavy metal stuff more.
Yeah, there was no thrash or speed yet
No.
back then.
So like when you guys started playing shows, like what kind of bands were you playing with?
Punk bands mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hardcore bands because they liked that style.
Yeah.
They liked that beat. And the traditional metal guys didn't like that beat. They thought it was punk rock, right?
Yeah.
Fuck off that punk rock shit. So we went
Or
hard
that they
there.
couldn't play, which wasn't true.
Yeah. So that's how we
Yeah.
ended up in that scene.
Yeah.
Doing, I guess, what you'd call now crossover shows.
Yeah.
And that's how those bands were created because like the hardcore bands were, an offshoot of punk rock music, which was like a heavier version of that. And then we were just basically a heavier, faster version of traditional metal. Right?
Yeah.
And so started kind of gelling together like that.
And then everyone that would put us on the bill.
Yeah.
We're a punk band, so
Plus we were underage. We were all underage and you couldn't play like the bars
Yeah.
unless you went into the East End and played with the punk bands. Then you could play those shitty bars. Right?
Yeah.
What was the first Witch's Hammer show?
Exciter, Metal Church,
Well,
Exodus.
Pretty wicked first show.
Who else was in that, Bill?
there was 2 nights, right?
Yeah, so it was,
So we played the second night.
it was Exciter,
Us.
Sacred Blade, Metal Church, and Exodus.
Yeah.
On the Bonded by Blood tour.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some pretty good exposure
Yeah,
for first
yeah.
show. Were you guys pretty good first show, or was
No,
it
it was terrible.
No.
Oh, we're awful.
Yeah.
And then Johnny had that killer solo though.
Yeah.
Because his strings broken. We were all trying to wire his strings on.
Yeah, Johnny just went for a solo.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Total spur of the moment. Yeah.
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 So like, what was like the original lineup?
It's myself and Ray, his brother Johnny, and
Steve.
Steve was playing bass.
Yeah.
And then eventually,
That was our original live lineup. We
Yeah.
had members before that.
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
Didn't, they didn't play live with us.
and you recorded like a couple demos and like
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
with that lineup, and then you decided to get like another guitar player in the fold.
Yeah, when we decided to finally do our EP, Mike joined the band. He was a guy that basically the first, like he came from the punk rock scene into the hardcore scene into the metal scene, and he was playing bass with Lethal Virus, I think, at the
Yeah.
time, and then he started like really digging like all the heavy stuff that was going on,
Celtic Frost.
Slayer and Celtic Frost and all that kind of stuff, Hellhammer
Yeah.
and Sodom and all that. So he started playing guitar with us. That's how we got ourselves a little bit heavier.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, so like back in the day, was there plans to like record like a full album, or like what happened? What happened there? Because like it kind of turned into like a bunch of EPs and demos and compilations?
There wasn't a lot of, like, it was all underground. Like, everything was either do it yourself, put the shows on yourself because we were underage, go on tour with a punk rock band, or, play house parties, right?
Yeah.
And that was how it was. So getting on like a label at that time for us here in Vancouver was not something that was really, didn't seem too viable at the time. And, we weren't exactly the easiest guy. We were, fuck the system and all this kind of shit. And we were really aggressive and really, really rigid in how we approached it. Because we didn't, it seemed like.
Plus the way we looked, we didn't fit the Metallica looking mold or speed metal mold, right? And I think it intimidated people. It intimidated our manager, fucking Norm, and he didn't know what to do with us. He just liked our music. And I mean, we got an offer from like Combat. Was it Combat Records? Yeah. And it wasn't a good offer. And
No.
I mean, I met the guy from Roadrunner once, and he said, "Well, you guys are just, I don't know how to market you." So it just fizzled out from there. We recorded.
Well, it didn't really fill out. We just kept going.
Yeah, we kept going.
I didn't really start it in order to, be like the next big thing. It was just like, we're going to start this thing. It's going to be our thing. We're just going to go for it and just fucking play, and it was our thing.
Yeah.
And that was the cool part of it.
That was the cool part.
Yeah. And a lot of bands started coming out.
Yeah.
All these like Armorous and shit. And so as it started to grow, it started to get better.
Yeah.
And so the scene started getting a lot cooler. Right? There was more gigs. That's how it went.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Real good time.
Wouldn't change it for a thing.
Fuck no.
No.
And like, when you guys began playing shows to the point when Witch's Hammer kind of ended, was there like a change in like the metal scene during that time? Like, with like darker bands coming out and stuff? Like,
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, as like when it first started, like the scene obviously got big and the shows would sell out and they were great, huge hall shows and stuff. But I noticed like in the late 80s, like the shows started getting really violent. And to the point where a lot of people just wouldn't come just for the fact.
It'd make it hurt.
Yeah, you bring your girlfriend to a show and you get punched out and stuff, right? It was it was getting really ugly at that time. And also we as, we were changing, like, from 13 to 19, you change a lot. And it just kind of went that way where I noticed like it wasn't just for us, it was like the whole metal scene started to die down.
Got saturated, maybe too many shows. Or,
that too.
Yeah.
But it was that, like I don't think people really felt the same passion they had for it just because of the factions. Like you'd have skinheads and headbangers and punk rockers and they all start beating the shit out of each other, right? It wasn't cool that way.
No. But at the beginning it wasn't like that because they would, at first they all showed up.
Yeah, had a good time.
And had a good time. And there was always a couple of goofs everywhere, right? But you kind of just turned into gang warfare.
Yeah.
And then people stopped going and people stopped putting on shows and then it kind of got taken over by, that Club Soda guy.
That's right.
On Metal Mondays, and he'd bring up bands and not put on local bands on the show.
That's true too.
So you get like Dark Angel on a Monday night or, Forced Entry.
Yeah.
No local bands. Yeah.
That's a band no one talks about, Forced Entry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were good.
Awesome.
They were really good.
Yeah. There's actually that one Alice in Chains music video. Lane is wearing a Forced Entry shirt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then he's actually in one of their music videos too.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
So that kind of killed the scene too, because why would you put on local bands when, I can bring up Dark Angel or...
You got the market cornered on
or Sacred Reich, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was almost gone by then, even though there were still metal shows, but they weren't local metal bands, right?
Yeah, so just like the violence at the shows was just like out of control. Like,
it would get really out of control.
Yeah.
like you were talking about, like people getting their head like put through walls. And shit.
It was mental.
Yeah.
What's the craziest thing you remember seeing?
Well, our Victoria show.
Like, oh,
our
shit.
Victoria show. Our Victoria show was pretty insane.
Yeah, toilets were broken.
Yeah, they were tearing the toilets out of the walls, and that was just it was mental, man. But
I think it was my favorite show we played.
and then when we'd play somewhere like Red Deer, and be like the first metal band to ever play Red Deer, and get protested, and the protesters would start fighting with the fans, and Jesus Christ, right?
Yeah.
And then the riot cops would show up, and it was crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like Yeah. It was fun though for us.
Yeah, it was
but still,
fun.
you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's just music, man.
Yeah.
People getting so
We're not
butthurt.
terrorists.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Our music's terrorizing, but we're not.
No.
And like you guys are all pretty young the whole time, right? Like by the time Witch's Hammer was done, like how old are you? Like 20 or something?
About 19, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So, like-
when I met him, I was 21, I think, or 20.
Something like that, yeah.
So I was, what, 27 when it ended, yeah. Yeah.
Sounds like some pretty crazy times to grow up in, for
Yeah, it
sure.
was fun.
Oh, it was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Like, what did everyone kind of like? What was kind of like the ending? Like everyone just kind of like went their
Dan
own
left the
ways.
band.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was like the final straw.
Yeah, once Dan moved to Toronto,
Yeah.
we were just like, yeah, fuck it, you know, like we just kind of moved on.
We
But
just, when we groomed him to, you know, when we just finished grooming him, teaching him all the songs, and then boom, he's gone. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, we got to do this again
yeah,
for the third time.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I think our will was gone.
kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what did everyone kind of do after that?
I did nothing.
No?
Didn't you go back east again?
No.
No. Well, I went and joined Blasphemy.
Yeah, he joined
Like, it was
Blasphemy.
basically like a week later, I got offered to join Death Sentence or Blasphemy. Both of the guys had called me. And I said to Jerry, yeah, fuck, I'll come over. So I started playing with those guys.
I got asked to join Procreation, but I said no.
Your brother did, though.
Yeah, he did later. Yeah. But Tom was already, that was like a year later, I think.
Yeah.
He was in Armors for a bit.
Yeah, he was an armorist, too.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then Steve did nothing, I don't think. Or Dan did. Oh, Dan went to, he ended up in,
Milwaukee.
yeah, and he was in a band called Lycanthrope, which was really cool.
Yeah, Lycanthrope, yeah.
And some other band, yeah.
Centurion or something.
Centurion, yeah. And Mike did Procreation.
Yeah, Mike started Procreation,
Yeah.
that's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how'd the whole idea to bring Witch's Hammer back? Like, was that kind of mulling around for a bit, and then
No,
No.
no?
it's, you were having a conversation with Suke, I think.
Who I was?
Yeah, or something like that. And something came up with, I had some old riffs that I'd written with John way back in the late 80s. I had some tapes and stuff like that, and we talked about maybe recording them. Something like that. Right?
Yeah, something like that.
And
Well, you messaged me and said,
yeah, and I talked to Mike about it. And,
Yeah.
And I was like, should we do this? Because I don't really like going to the past and doing that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Nostalgia and all that. Fuck that shit, right? But I got convinced basically to do it because it's basically John's legacy. And so that's how that came about.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he messaged me and went, are you into it? And I said, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
Because I never thought I thought it was, you know, the Sleeping Dogs Lie.
Yeah,
It's,
I'm like
it's
that
good.
too.
Yeah.
Why fuck with it?
Man, we did what we did, right?
And then I heard what he was doing, and then I heard him playing with Steve, and I'm like, yeah, this could work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you guys kind of surprised by just like people remembering this stuff and wanting it back? Because it seems like there's a lot of people that remember this. Like I know like the shirts are moving quick. Like people, like it seems like people actually like remember this. You know, what
It's
I mean?
been kind of building ever since Yosuke put all that vinyl out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, it goes in cycles. Like when it first came out, people are like, wow, this is cool, and blah, 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 and messaging me, and then it kind of dissipates, and then it kind of has this cycle every 5 or 6 years it comes back.
Yeah.
And then when the CD came out that Iron Tire put out, same fucking thing. It just, wow, this is cool. Where can I get this? Blah, blah, blah. And,
Well,
and
it
now
seems
it's
like
happening again, right?
yeah. Seems like this is like the ultimate time where like people are like really nostalgic for like that older, you know, like all the old thrash bands are like, you know, like people that haven't picked up a guitar in like 30 years, all of a sudden like bands like Atrophy and like Toxic, all these old bands like coming back and like, everyone all of a sudden gives a fuck and everyone's
Yeah.
like, cool.
I always hear some name and I'm like, wow, I didn't even know those guys were around anymore. They weren't. They just got back together. You know, like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what's going on. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a hole to be filled, right? There's no new bands that are playing this music, right? So,
I just find a lot of like the newer stuff doesn't really have like that attitude or like that edge or like, you
yeah,
know
it kind of
what I mean?
sounds nostalgic, or like a cover band. But
Yeah, I guess kind of.
some of it does, and some of it doesn't. But I mean, is there really a band out there that plays like that anymore? That's not from that era?
No.
They can think of?
Not that I can think of, no. pretty much like a lot of like speed metal now is like not really even what I would consider to be speed metal. It's more like kind of like DB, like new wave of British heavy metal worship kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, I can't really speak on it too much because I'm from there. So
Yeah.
I see it from that angle.
So do I, yeah.
So I see it from something that's from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the past, you know. It's done.
Yeah.
Trying to relive the past and go, hey, man, let's bring that, you know, bring back that style. I'm kind of like, how are you going to do that, man?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
That's a different era,
It's
right?
a feeling too.
Yeah, because
right?
like when it came out, it was like brand new and fresh, and now it's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah, exactly.
30-year-old.
Yeah.
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 It's hard to bring, you know, like, you just can't do it. I mean, it's analog for one thing.
Yeah.
It's like live off the floor for another thing. There's not a lot of overdubs. It's like, you know, you just go and play and cut it and it's done.
It's
Yeah.
almost like a punk rock. Like
Yeah, it's got that kind of fashion to it, right? That whole complexion is very young and it's very abrasive and
Naive in a way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, you know, you just go for it.
do it.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
You know, do the best you can, and if it sounds kind of fucked up, good.
Yeah.
You know, and every band had to sound different in order to be accepted.
Yeah.
Whereas nowadays everything's like grid edited and all the fucking drums are sampled and everything's fucking to a metronome and shit. So yeah.
But you know what? If people are digging that, if that's what they like, that's what they like.
I don't think everyone's
Yeah.
digging it. I definitely don't dig that
No,
shit.
no.
But, you know, people gotta do what they gotta do, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I don't listen to a lot of metal anymore. It's because it's too perfect.
Too polished, yeah.
Well, fuck, we're old, man. It's our generation.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I got into like garage punk, right? Because of that, because it's all not perfect and
You like your music
fast
sounds
and-
stepped on a
yeah.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people my age that are looking for that exact same thing. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like AJ, like, you know, like we're all into, you know, we don't really like a lot of like newer stuff, right? And you will catch a lot of flack for that. Like people are like, oh, you fucking living in the past. And it's like, well, you like what you like, right? You can't,
Yeah.
Exactly. There's only two kinds of music: music you like, music you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's art, man.
Yeah.
What do you dig?
Yeah.
You like that? Cool. Good enough for me. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as shows go, what's in the pipeline right now?
We got the Rickshaw with Incantation on the 22nd, and then we're doing, and that's a festival.
Yeah.
Covenant
And
Fest.
Covenant Fest, yeah, and then we're doing Brutal Alberta Fest with Drawn and Quartered, and then Germany
Yeah.
with who the fuck's
A
up?
bunch of bands.
Oh, shit,
Blasphemy.
Like
Blasphemy.
Necro Holocaust.
Yeah.
Necro Holocaust, yeah. Blasphemy.
Sabbath.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Sabat, yeah.
There's about
That was like the one band I was like, well, that's fucking pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
that's right. There's
Yeah.
a bunch of other bands on there too.
Yeah. I haven't heard of a lot of those, but it looks pretty sweet.
I can't even read a lot of them.
Yeah.
Looking at those, you know.
Pretty low res image.
Yeah.
What does that fucking say? It's like red on black, like the hardest shit to read. And as far as like new material, like you got new material like in the works, or
Yeah, man. We're gonna record in July, hopefully, at the beginning of July, and lay down these riffs, man. And they're it's the new material. It's actually old material, like a lot of riffs that we put together with songs with Steve, right? Steve Sand, the new drummer, right? So me and him put those together, and it sounds pretty cool, I think. So
Yeah.
we'll just put it out and see what people think, man.
Yeah.
If they like it, they like it. If not, fuck it. Who cares? We're gonna do it anyways.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
We always do what we want anyway.
Yeah, just do what we want, right? We don't give a shit.
That's right.
cool. Well, anything else to say? Any parting
Nah, man. I
words, or-
fucking hate
Yeah.
interviews, man.
Yeah.
Get a life.
But thanks, anyways.
Yeah. Right
Thanks
on.
for doing this one.
That's all
Cheers.
good.
All right, guys. Kept it short and sweet.
Right on, man. Cool.
Peace out.